It's fascinating that buildings can be cooled without electricity. There are technologies that allow buildings to stay cool using special insulation and solar reflectors. So-called green roofs are covered with vegetation, creating natural shade and preventing overheating. Additionally, reflective materials are used to bounce sunlight and lower indoor temperatures. In this way, on hot summer days, these buildings remain cool without air conditioners or electricity. Did you know glass actually flows? Contrary to popular belief, glass is not entirely solid. Over time, glass slowly flows, though this process can take hundreds or thousands of years. In old buildings, you might notice that glass windows have become slightly thicker at the bottom. This happens because the molecules of glass gradually shift downward under the force of gravity, making it behave more like a very slow-moving liquid on a molecular level. Being born on February 29th is a 1 in 1,461 chance. People born on February 29th belong to a very rare club, as this date appears on the calendar only once every 4 years, during a leap year. The odds of being born on this day are about 1 in 1,461. That means only about 0.068% of the population celebrates their birthday on February 29th. They often joke that they age only once every 4 years. Some throw grand parties to mark this special day, making it an even more memorable celebration. Who would have thought that giraffe spots are like fingerprints? Giraffes are not only majestic creatures, but they also have a unique feature. Each giraffe's spot pattern is as individual as a human fingerprint. No two giraffes have the same spot configuration, which makes them truly one of a kind. These spots serve more than just an aesthetic function. They help regulate body temperature in the hot savanna and assist in social recognition within their groups. So, next time you see a giraffe, remember that its spots are as unique as your fingerprint. Why did the famous bridge in Venice almost sink? The Rialto Bridge is the oldest and one of the most recognizable bridges in Venice. It began to sink shortly after its construction in the 16th century. Venice itself is subject to constant flooding, so the bridge has gradually sunk over time. Engineers have conducted numerous restoration works to preserve it, but Venice still faces the threat of sinking. And the Rialto Bridge serves as a reminder of the fragility of this magnificent city. Can you imagine that eagles symbolize philosophical power? In philosophy, the eagle often represents concepts such as strength, decisiveness, and honor. This majestic bird symbolizes control and authority. The eagle's powerful gaze is seen as a reflection of leadership qualities, inspiring people to consider them as rulers in the realm of ideas. Philosophers have long used the image of the eagle to illustrate the power of thought and action. Every cat has a unique nose print. Just like humans have unique fingerprints, cats have their own special patterns on their noses. Each cat's nose has a distinct print that can be used to identify them, much like how fingerprints work for people. This trait makes every cat's nose completely unique and adds a bit of personality to their charm. So, if you have a furry purring friend at home, know that their nose is as unique as their character. This amazing fact highlights how diverse and mysterious the feline world is, where even the smallest details matter. Did you know the Pyramids of Giza were originally brightly colored? When we think of the Egyptian pyramids, we imagine grand but plain stone structures. However, in ancient times, they looked completely different. The pyramids were once covered in smooth white limestone, which made them shine in the sunlight, giving them a dazzling appearance. Additionally, the top of the pyramids, called pyramidions, were often made of gold or coated with gold, creating a sparkling peak. Imagine how bright and magnificent these structures must have looked in the desert several thousand years ago. Over time, the outer layers of the pyramids deteriorated, leaving only the stone cores we see today. Why do chickens peck at their food? When a chicken finds food and pecks it on the ground, it's not just a random habit. This process is called beak pounding and helps chickens break down food into smaller, easier to manage pieces. A chicken's powerful beak acts like a tool to crack seeds and other tough bits of food. This behavior is common among many birds, but chickens do it with particular zeal. allowing them to get more nutrients and energy from their meals. Next time you see a chicken pecking, remember, it's using its own little kitchen tools. How did the term honeymoon originate? And what does it have to do with honey? The term honeymoon traces back to ancient Babylonian culture. It turns out that after a wedding, the bride's father would provide the newlyweds with a month's supply of honey and mead, a fermented honey drink. This ritual was believed to ensure happiness and fertility in the early days of marriage. Because of this tradition, the first month of marriage became known as the honeymoon, and this idea has endured through the ages, becoming a symbol of romantic getaways for newlyweds. Did you know that Big Ben is not a clock? Actually, Big Ben is not the name of the clock or the tower, but the bell inside the clock tower. Its full name is the Great Bell of Westminster, but people simply call it Big Ben. It chimes every hour, creating a melody heard by Londoners and visitors alike. It's one of the most recognizable landmarks in the world, and now you know the real story behind the name. Did you know that some mushrooms can glow in the dark? Certain types of mushrooms have a magical ability to glow in the dark, creating a mystical forest scene. This phenomenon is called bioluminescence. When walking through the woods at night, some mushrooms emit a soft, mysterious glow, turning the forest floor into a fairy tale. This glow attracts insects, helping the mushrooms spread their spores, making them not only beautiful, but functional. Bioluminescent mushrooms are yet another example of nature's wonders. It's interesting that messages in bottles can travel for years across the sea. Sometimes, bottles with messages thrown into the sea can float for years before reaching a shore. The longest recorded journey of such a message lasted about 133 years. During that time, the bottle traveled thousands of kilometers. These random journeys have inspired countless stories, and even in our digital age, people continue to throw bottles into the ocean, hoping to connect with future generations. Eyes bigger than the brain, the amazing anatomy of ostriches. As strange as it may seem, ostriches have eyes bigger than their brains. These huge birds have the largest eyes of any land animal, with a diameter of up to 5 centimeters. But despite this, their brain is relatively small. However, thanks to their large eyes, ostriches can see far distances and detect danger long before it gets close. What incredible creatures ostriches are! Large eyes, but a small brain that still manages to perform all the necessary functions. Hard to believe, but it takes 8 minutes for sunlight to reach Earth. The sunlight we see every day actually began its journey from the sun 8 minutes ago. This is because the speed of light is about 300,000 kilometers per second, and the distance from the sun to Earth is approximately 150 million kilometers. So every time you look at the sun, you're seeing its past. This fascinating time delay is one of the most interesting phenomena of cosmic physics. Did you know that in France there's a house with a negative number? In the town of Rocamadour, France, you can find a house numbered -1. This building was constructed under a cliff below street level. When the other houses were numbered, the ground-level houses were already given 0 and 1. This unusual designation has now become a local landmark and a curiosity for tourists. After all, it's not every day you see a house with a negative number. Surprisingly, there's a town in Norway where every house stands on stilts. In Røros, Norway, almost all houses are built on wooden stilts. This ancient technique helps protect the buildings from moisture and snow. The historical center of the town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and today tourists come to see how ancient construction methods have remained relevant for centuries. This town stands as a living monument to how people adapted to the harsh conditions of the north. Italy, the country of UNESCO treasures. Italy holds the top spot in the world for the number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites, an impressive 58 locations. These include famous landmarks like the Roman Colosseum and the stunning Amalfi Coast. But there are also hidden gems like the Dolomite Mountains that will take your breath away. Italy is a paradise for history lovers, art enthusiasts, and those seeking spectacular landscapes. Every corner of this country is steeped in culture and heritage, making it a must-visit destination for travelers and culture buffs alike. Did you know that beneath Amsterdam is a complex sewer system? In addition to the famous canals that cross Amsterdam, there is also an extensive network of underground canals built as early as the 16th century. This intricate sewer system not only keeps the city's canals clean, but also prevents flooding. Staying true to tradition, Amsterdam conducts annual inspections to keep these old canals in working condition and to keep the city afloat. Believe it or not, the longest earthquake lasted 10 minutes. In 1960, Chile experienced the longest earthquake ever recorded, lasting an astonishing 10 minutes. This seismic event, caused by massive geological forces, triggered devastating tsunamis that even reached the shores of Japan. The earthquake left behind not only physical damage but also a deep impact on our understanding of tectonic activity and its influence on Earth's surface. It demonstrated the incredible power of the planet and the constant movement of its layers, reminding us that Earth is never truly still. The Great Barrier Reef, a giant natural wonder. The Great Barrier Reef is not only the largest living structure on Earth, but also a bustling underwater city where thousands of species of fish, coral, and other marine creatures reside. It stretches over 2,300 kilometers along Australia's coast and is even visible from space. This natural wonder plays a crucial role in maintaining the ocean's ecosystem by filtering water and providing shelter for marine life. Unfortunately, climate change and ocean pollution threaten its existence. Scientists worldwide are working to preserve this astonishing underwater world for future generations. Did you know that there are fish that can live without water? The climbing perch can leave the water and crawl on land for several days. This fish has the unique ability to absorb oxygen directly from the air and even walk using its fins. Thanks to a special structure in its gills, it can breathe atmospheric air. It uses its strong tail to move across the ground, almost like a small lizard. How would you react if you knew that in Japan, buildings are made of paper? In Japan, they are developing innovative buildings made from recycled paper. This material is used for temporary structures such as pavilions or exhibition centers. The paper walls are treated with special substances that make them resistant to rain and fire. This is an example of how modern technologies allow for the construction of eco-friendly buildings that are easy to dismantle and recycle, leaving no harm to the environment. Can you imagine that 1 billion seconds equals 32 years? If you calculate 1 billion seconds equals approximately 31 years, 8 months, and 8 days. It's an example of how easy it is to get lost in the measurement of time when it is expressed in such large numbers. For comparison, in that period, a child could grow up, become an adult, and graduate from university. Time moves quietly, and realizing that 1 billion seconds covers such a long span of life makes you think about its value and fleeting nature. Why do people love talking about themselves? Studies show that people spend about 60% of their conversation time talking about themselves. And on social media, this number goes up to 80%. This is because people enjoy sharing their thoughts, experiences, and personal stories. Especially in the age of social media, these platforms have become spaces for self-expression and connection. This fact provides an intriguing insight into human nature, the desire for communication and recognition. It turns out that icebergs have colorful stripes. Depending on the composition and conditions of formation, icebergs can be striped in green, blue, yellow, or even black. Green stripes are formed due to algae, blue due to dense ice, and yellow and brown due to iron presence. These colorful stripes are only visible in bright sunlight, making them even more mysterious and rare natural phenomena. It turns out that in some countries, you can wash banknotes. In countries like Australia and Canada, banknotes are printed on a special polymer material, not paper, making them durable and waterproof. These plastic bills are not only harder to tear, but you can accidentally wash them in your pants pocket, and they'll remain intact. This innovation has reduced the cost of producing banknotes and made them more long-lasting. The future of money is money that isn't afraid of water. Did you know that penguins swallow stones? These tuxedo-wearing wonders not only excel at swimming, but also have an unusual habit of swallowing small stones. Penguins ingest pebbles to help them digest food more efficiently, using the stones to grind up food in their stomachs, much like birds use gravel. In addition, These stones provide extra weight, allowing penguins to dive deeper in search of fish. This clever adaptation turns penguins into expert divers and makes them even more fascinating. Hard to believe, but in Madagascar, there is a tree that walks. The baobab tree in Madagascar is known for its roots that can move several meters in search of water. While the tree itself does not move, its root system grows towards sources of moisture, crossing large patches of land. This unique ability allows baobabs to survive in drought conditions and become even more resilient. This species of plants has long intrigued biologists, who are still trying to unravel all the secrets of how these ancient giants survive. What's the longest time between the birth of twins? The longest recorded gap between the birth of twins is 87 days. This astonishing record was set when one twin was born prematurely and the other stayed in the womb for almost 3 more months. Imagine that. One twin born at the end of 1 year and the other in the following year. This unusual story adds a remarkable milestone to the family's life, creating a unique timeline between the births of these twins. Can you imagine that it rains diamonds on Neptune? It sounds like science fiction, but scientists are convinced that Neptune experiences diamond rain. Due to the immense pressure and extreme temperatures, methane in Neptune's atmosphere transforms into diamonds that literally fall from the sky. Imagine a world where precious jewels are as common as raindrops, a luxurious storm that any jeweler would dream of witnessing. Can you imagine that fungi are closer to animals than plants? Believe it or not, fungi share a common ancestor with animals, dating back more than 1 billion years. Unlike plants, fungi are heterotrophs, which means they can't produce their own food through photosynthesis. Instead, they absorb nutrients from organic matter, just like animals. This makes fungi a unique form of life, existing somewhere between the plant and animal kingdoms. Fungi are nature's recyclers, breaking down dead matter and returning nutrients to the ecosystem. Who would have thought that King Louis the Fourteenth ruled for 72 years? Louis the Fourteenth, also known as the Sun King, holds the record for the longest reign in the history of monarchy. He ruled France for 72 years and 110 days, from 1643 to 1715. This incredible reign surpasses all other monarchs in history. During his time, France became the cultural heart of Europe, and Louis himself became the symbol of absolute power. Long live the king who ruled longer than any other. Could it be possible? The Pyramids of Giza were once colorful. When the Pyramids of Giza were first built, their surfaces were covered with smooth white limestone slabs, which reflected sunlight and made them appear bright and sparkling. At the top, there was likely a golden pyramidion, giving the pyramid a dazzling look. Over time, the white stone eroded, and the pyramids became what we see today, stark but still majestic. It's hard to believe, but it rains diamonds on Saturn. Researchers believe that lightning storms in Saturn's atmosphere turn methane into carbon, which then crystallizes into diamonds. These diamond drops can reach several centimeters in size and, as they fall from great heights, turn into graphite. Thus, on Saturn, you can witness a rain of precious stones. At such depths and under high pressure, they turn back into carbon. But the very idea of this phenomenon is breathtaking. Greenland shark, the longest living creature of the ocean, 500 years of life. Believe it or not, Greenland sharks can live up to 500 years. These ancient inhabitants of the cold waters of the North Atlantic are among the longest living vertebrates on Earth. Scientists have determined the age of sharks by studying the lenses of their eyes, which accumulate layers over time, much like the rings on a tree. Some of these sharks were born before the Renaissance. This incredible fact highlights how fascinating and underexplored the underwater world is. Imagine, the oldest sharks may have been swimming in the ocean when the first pyramids were being built. Did you know the term internet was first used in 1974? We all know the internet is an essential part of modern life. But did you know the first mention of the word was in 1974? At that time, internet was used to describe a global network of interconnected computer systems. Back then, it was a novelty, but by the end of the 20th century, the internet became a revolutionary technology that changed the world. Today, billions of people are connected online, and the internet has become not just a communication tool, but also a key platform for business, science, and education. Did you know that laughter is good for your heart? Laughter is not just a way to lift your mood, but also a great way to keep your heart healthy. Scientists have proven that laughter improves circulation, helps blood vessels expand, and reduces stress levels. It's like a natural medicine that helps your heart work better and longer. So next time you laugh, remember, you're not just improving your mood, but also giving your heart a great gift. Laughter really is the best medicine. How about this? In Turkey, there is an ancient underground city that could hold over 20,000 people. Derinkuyu is one of the largest and most mysterious underground cities in the world. It was built thousands of years ago in Cappadocia and consists of several levels deep underground. For centuries, the city was used as a refuge during wars and raids. It included everything needed for life: living quarters, wineries, churches, ventilation shafts, and even schools. The city was discovered accidentally in 1963, and to this day, archaeologists have not fully explored all of its secrets. Did you know that platypuses are venomous? This cute and mysterious animal from Australia has a real weapon hidden in its legs. Male platypuses have venomous spurs on their hind legs, which they use to inject toxins into their enemies or competitors during mating battles. While the venom is not deadly to humans, it can cause excruciating pain that lasts for months. Who would have thought that these seemingly harmless animals could be so dangerous? There is a white giraffe in the world, and it's not a fairy tale. In Africa, a unique white giraffe was discovered, suffering from a rare genetic condition known as leucism. Unlike albinism, leucism allows the giraffe to retain pigment in its eyes, but its skin lacks color. This rare giraffe has become a subject of intense focus and was even equipped with a special tracker to protect it from poachers. Its snow-white color makes it vulnerable, but also a unique creature in the wild. How about this? In Italy, there is a museum filled with objects found at the bottom of canals. In Venice, there is a museum where exhibits are collected from the bottom of the famous canals. Among the items on display, you can find ancient coins, musical instruments, luxury goods, and even cars. This museum tells the city's history through lost and forgotten objects, many of which lay underwater for centuries. Venice, with its labyrinth of canals, has always been a mysterious city, and these underwater discoveries reveal even more secrets of this ancient place. Have you ever wondered if sand can turn into glass? Glass is made by heating sand to a temperature above 1,400 degrees Celsius, at which point it melts. The result is a material that looks completely different from the original sand. This process was discovered in ancient Egypt and is still used today to make everything from windows to high-tech smartphone screens. So, ordinary sand literally transforms into a transparent material that has changed our world. Antarctica is the largest desert on Earth. Antarctica, despite all its ice and snow, is actually the largest desert in the world. Yes, you heard that right. The criteria that define a desert are low levels of precipitation, and in Antarctica, very little moisture falls. The average annual precipitation in some parts of the continent is similar to that of the Sahara. This makes Antarctica a true ice desert, where endless ice fields stretch instead of scorching sands. This fact highlights that deserts come in many forms, both hot and cold, and nature always has a surprise in store. Believe it or not, polar bears have black skin under their white fur. A polar bear's fur may look white, but underneath its skin is actually black. This isn't just a natural curiosity. It's an important adaptation that helps polar bears absorb more heat from the sun and stay warm in the icy Arctic climate. It's like wearing a natural solar-powered suit that helps them survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Did you know giraffes barely sleep? Giraffes are masters of the power nap. These towering creatures need only about 1 hour and 9 minutes of sleep a day, and even then they break their sleep into short bursts, perfecting the art of napping. This remarkable adaptation shows how nature can surprise us with its creativity. Imagine how productive humans could be if we only needed 2 hours of sleep per day. Why a cat's brain is 90% like a human's. Surprisingly, despite their size, a cat's brain is 90% similar to a human's. While cats don't solve equations or read books, the structure of their brain, especially the cerebral cortex, is remarkably like ours. Cats can experience emotions such as joy, fear, and even jealousy, making them far more complex than they might seem. Their ability to learn and remember is impressive. They can associate specific actions with rewards, similar to how children learn. So perhaps your little kitty is much smarter than you think. It just chooses not to show it. Is it true that hippos sweat red? When hippos spend a lot of time in the sun, their skin starts to secrete a special red fluid that looks like blood. This sweat acts as both a sunscreen and an antiseptic, protecting them from sunburn and infection. It's often called blood sweat, though it contains no blood at all. This incredible secretion helps hippos withstand the intense African sun, spending most of their days in water and only occasionally coming out onto land. Can you believe that Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world combined? Yes, it's true. Canada alone has more lakes than all other countries in the world combined. About 60% of all freshwater lakes on the planet are located in this country. From small, crystal-clear ponds to giant lakes like Lake Superior, Canada is famous for its water resources. The variety of lakes makes Canada an ideal destination for nature lovers, water sports enthusiasts, and fishermen. Impressive, isn't it? If you're planning a trip, don't forget to include a visit to one of these unique natural wonders. Why do lightning bolts often strike the same place? Lightning strikes tend to favor certain spots. For example, Lake Victoria in Africa is one of the most lightning-prone places in the world. Why does this happen? It's due to unique climate conditions that create almost continuous thunderstorms. Warm air rising from the lake's surface meets cooler air currents, triggering constant electrical discharges. Here's what's even more interesting. Lightning can strike the same place several times in a short period, and it's not a myth. Researchers found that high ground conductivity also plays a key role in attracting lightning to specific spots.